Alright, it's recording. How this style of programming drives hypertrophy and what separates it from all the bros out there writing 3 sets of 8. So I'm just going to lay out all the foundations and then we'll go into them one by one. Sequencing, intensity, and progression. Sequencing is half the battle, so the order that you do your exercises matters. It's not just about warming up, it's about directing tension and building systems to practice flexes before you get into heavier lifts. You'll notice a lot of your programming starts with cable work, and this is for 2 reasons: accuracy and proprioception. So accuracy, I mean, wherever that cable extends out of the rack, that's exactly where the line of pull is, that line of tension, and you're able to adjust it based on how long your limbs are, what's comfortable for you. And I find that it's just more freedom than being locked into a fixed range of motion on a machine. And the resistance curve, the tension, it's more constant than a free weight. Proprioception is safety. So we want to make sure that we're absorbing as much tension before we get into our compounds so that we're not bleeding out into our joints and we're not shifting the load across our whole body. How far you push a set is only as constructive as your form. So imagine getting stuck under the bar for those last few reps, but completely missing the muscle that you wanted to train. To my mind, intensity isn't just about failure. It's not about getting stuck underweight or how much you're moving. It's about feeling that blood, that burning sensation rush into the muscle when you finish your set. It's the only way to be sure. Generating intensity, it's a skill. It's something you need to practice. If you want to know what I mean, I want you to watch Dorian Yates train. He only does 5 reps, and to someone from the outside, it might look like 5 is the magic number. But Dorian has spent years and years practicing his training in order to generate that level of intensity with accuracy. So it's not enough to just get under the bar and push a weight that's heavy enough that you get stuck. You need to think of it as a technique, as a skill that you need to practice. I find it's much more intuitive and much more easy to grasp doing higher reps. Because when you have 8 practice reps leading up to those last 4 grinders, you've got so much more confidence and mental backing, knowing that you're not going to get stuck under the weight and having all of these contractions leading up to those last 2 reps where you're going to fail. We're not just looking to get stuck. Otherwise, doing 1 rep maxes and failing every time, that would make you huge. We want accurate stretches and contractions, push to failure. Progression. Progress without ownership leads to injury or burnout. In other words, adding more weight or more reps every single week is taxing on your CNS. You're only going to get away with that for so long before you start compromising your form or you get injured. So in our program, we want to get the most out of the least and work with realistic expectations, knowing that every week you're not going to go in there and hit PRs all the time. We're working with realistic understandings. We need to make sure our form is picture perfect, the tempo is controlled, and if all of that's accounted for, let's add some pauses in both end ranges and maybe a set intensifier. Maybe we move around the sequence. A lot of people reach plateaus in their training and they think the solution is to brute force it and just push heavier, lower the reps. How about you see how you're lifting the weight? Make sure everything's as clean as possible, and you might find that that set of 12 you were doing, when you slow it down, you only really get 8. And there's your progression right there. That's why I've chosen the movements that I have, to make sure we practice our contractions when we get up to those heavier sets, to help give us an understanding of what training to failure means, and leaving us room to progress and not expecting you to come in and add 2.5 or an extra rep every single week. Because my training philosophy is execution over weight every time. So when you consciously direct tension into the muscles, we're going back to the fundamentals of weight training. What do your muscles do? They stretch and contract, and that's how we grow.